Oh, hey, what's up? Let me just put down this comic I was reading. Oh, what? That's weird. Totally didn't intend on that happening. What's up? It's Danny here from the Lassercast, and this April, we are switching it up. We are going Shudder crazy. In April, Shudder is celebrating halfway to Halloween. You'll notice back there, I got my Halloween coffee mug and Michael Myers. They're ready to hang out. I got my cup of water here, just ready. Every day is Halloween. You know it. Well, we are going to be focusing on Shudder content for the most part throughout the month of April. We are going to be checking out Them, which is coming to Amazon Prime on April 9th. But we're also going to be focusing on the incredible lineup of movies and series and shows and exclusives that Shudder has, because there's no bigger name in horror right now than Shudder, and we want to cover it all for you guys. So let's first, before we dive into the Creepshow review, because episode 1, it went out today on April 1st. No jokes here, promise you that. This April, Shudder has, and by the way, when we get to the Creepshow review, you'll understand why it looks like I'm in this secluded wooden cabin. This is actually my bedroom, not the horror corner that I usually sit in. Don't ask about the wood paneling. This April, Shudder has so much. We already mentioned Creepshow. Greg Nicotero's Creepshow is back for season 2. 5 episodes, 2 per episode, two mini episodes per episode, about 25 minutes each. So you get a 45-minute block of Creepshow every Thursday night in April. So today, April 1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th, you will get 10 short episodes of Creepshow, and we are going to be here covering all of them. My review of episodes 1 and 2 will be coming up in just a few minutes here. What else is coming up on Shudder? Well, only the return of Joe, Bob, and Darcy, The Last Drive-In, Season 3, is coming at you on Friday night, April 16th, which means we get 3 Last Drive-Ins in April, the 16th, the 23rd, and April 30th, which means while watching The Last Drive-In, we will cross over onto May 1st, which is my birthday. So I'm going to be celebrating my 39th birthday with Shudder, with Joe Bob, with Darcy, and with all of you. What else do we have coming up this month on Shudder? Well, how about the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards? On Sunday, April 18th, the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards will be debuting on Shudder TV, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. The best in horror of 2020 is going to be honored that night by Fangoria, one of the best, the magazine that we all grew up reading. I know that I would always beg my parents to take me to the bookstore, and then I would skulk off to the magazine section so I could read Fangoria. Earlier last year on this channel, Pete and Chris and I got to interview David Weiner, the director of In Search of Darkness Parts 1 and 2. Well, In Search of Darkness 2, another 4.5-hour documentary on 80s horror, is coming to Shudder on April 26th. That's a Monday night. If you are going to have a rough work day that day, when you get home, you'll have 4.5 wonderful hours of 80s horror just waiting for you. You can check out our interview with David Weiner if you go to our channel. Guy is great, and I can't wait for everybody to check out In Search of Darkness Part 2. What Shudder exclusives are coming out? New movies coming to the channel. Right now on the channel is Train to Busan Peninsula. Train to Busan was, without question, the greatest zombie movie I've ever seen. It had so much intense zombie action, and it also made me cry so much. Peninsula is the sequel. Cannot wait to see it. South Korean zombie violence on the channel right now. Also coming out every Thursday, along with the new episodes of Creepshow, you're going to get movies The Power, The Banishing, Boys from County Hell, and Dead House Dark. Those are all new Shudder exclusives coming to Shudder on Thursday nights in April. But what if you want classic horror? Well, Shudder's got that for you too. They're coming at you with two classics coming up, I believe, tomorrow. Cat People and I Walked with a Zombie, which are two of the horror movies featured in the 100 horror movies you need to see before you die book. Cannot wait to check those out. Knock off two movies from that list. Right now on the channel, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, starring the amazing Caroline Williams. One of the best horror comedies you will ever see. Directed by the late, great Tobe Hooper. John Carpenter's The Fog hits the channel later this month. Joe Dante's The Howling, one of the best werewolf movies ever made, is on there. And We Are the Lasser Cast, Mike Flanagan's approved Lake Mungo is coming to the channel later this month. That movie just got a brand new deluxe Blu-ray that will be coming out soon. I already pre-ordered it. Can't wait for that. And if you like crazy slasher horror that you might have missed, Corbin Burnson's The Dentist movies, parts 1 and 2, are coming to Shudder later this month. My goodness, there is so much, but it's the first of the month, and like I said, no jokes. I promised you guys a Creepshow review. Well, we're going to get into that right now. The first episode of Creepshow, the first two-part episode of Season 2, has two mini segments. The first one is called Model Kid. Both of these are directed by Greg Nicotero. This one was written by John Esposito, and it starts with the Creeper playing with an 8mm old school film, and he's watching this horror short. He's watching this horror movie, like a silent film of the Gill Man versus the Mummy. And this is something that JoJo in the 1970s, JoJo and his mom liked to watch 8mm horror. Later in the episode, they're watching what appears to be a silent version of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. And it's very obvious that JoJo's mom has cancer. JoJo is played by Brock Duncan, and pretty good for a kid actor. And this movie is basically, this episode is pretty much, if you've seen Tales from the Hood, then this feels like the episode where the kid is being abused by his father and creates monsters to kind of cope with that. JoJo's a kid who's obsessed with horror. He's got horror figures, models, magazines, pictures up everywhere. It's what him and his mom love, and when his mom does finally pass away, he's forced to live with his aunt and uncle. The uncle is played by Kevin Dillon, and if I was going to nitpick this episode, it's that Kevin Dillon is overacting so much. He's chewing all the scenery. Like, he might as well be wearing a neon necklace around his neck that just says, I am an abusive, the stereotypical abusive father figure who needs to be dispatched or who needs to be gotten rid of. He overdoes it a little bit, but he also gets some pretty great comeuppance because JoJo realizes that he has this ability given to him from his mom, who promised that when she dies, they will always be together, to basically make his horror creations come to life. He orders a figure, this model. He orders a model called, from Creepshow magazine, he orders a model called The Victim. And he writes on it, Uncle, I forgot the uncle's name, but, just whatever the uncle's name is, Kevin Dillon's character. And his mummy and Gill Man models effectively come to life. He takes the victim model and he puts it on the radiator, and suddenly the uncle has this unstoppable fever. He's sweating, he can't stop. And then he has his other models, the Gill Man and the Mummy, just rip him to shreds. And it's a very cathartic scene. He reminds me a lot of Tommy Jarvis from Friday the 13th Part 4, Corey Feldman, of course. And like I said, the episode does kind of remind me of the David Alan Grier segment in Tales from the Hood. Overall, though, it was pretty solid. Good way to start the season. But the second segment, it roped me in right away. Because, and I said, the fact that it looks like I'm sitting in a log cabin because of all the wood. The second episode, which is called Public Television of the Dead, is effectively written by Rob Schraub, directed by Greg Nicotero again, is effectively Evil Dead Part 2. It is 100% an Evil Dead. It just belongs in the Evil Dead universe. They basically wrote a 24-minute Evil Dead movie. The best part of this is they got Ted Raimi to come in. And if you're an Evil Dead fan like me, it's just like, here, we made this for you. You Evil Dead fans, you can have this 25-minute little episode. And it made me so happy because I'm such an Evil Dead fan. So we're introduced to one of the shows on this public TV channel, this kind of like channel, PBS style channel, Mrs. Bookberry's Magical Library, with this snotty, host who puts on a nice show while the cameras are rolling, but she's a bitch off screen. And she's demanding more time and a better slot. She has a hand puppet named Henrietta. Evil Dead 2, you'll get the reference, especially Ted Raimi, you'll definitely get the reference. Ted Raimi shows up on another one of the shows on this public television channel. Basically, an Antiques Roadshow type thing. What does he bring? He brings an old book that's been in the family for years. Lol. He brings the Necronomicon. And, of course, he hands it to the appraiser. He opens it up. He's describing it. Oh, it's bound in what looks to be human flesh. And it's written in a substance that appears to be human blood. And, it's ancient Kandarian. And, actually, I happen to read that. Here, let me read a few passages. And, of course, it's Evil Dead 2. He reads the book. And Ted Raimi becomes possessed by the Evil Dead, and it starts this chain reaction through the studio. Meanwhile, Marissa Hampton, the actress, she's the head of this network. She's running around trying to solve everything. And who does she get to be the hero here? I love this one. This is my favorite one. Mark Ashworth, the actor, who's playing a character named Norm Roberts, who is effectively a Bob Ross. He's a very mellow painter. And what is the first thing you notice him painting, by the way? He's painting the cabin in the woods from Evil Dead. It even has, off to the side, the bent cross that marked Linda's tombstone. I love this. You even see the broken bridge in the background where the Delta couldn't escape. God, I love the little touches in this. And of course, the Bob Ross character is a Vietnam vet who kicks ass and leads these other two people, Marissa Hampton, her character, and a character named George, played by Todd Allen Durkin. He gets to say groovy after they kill the Deadites towards the end. There's just so much. So, like I said, there's so many nods to the Evil Dead movies. I couldn't stop smiling throughout this segment. I watched the entire first season of Creepshow, and these two mini segments, I absolutely... This is my favorite one, because I'm such an Evil Dead fan. It just worked on every level for me. seeing Ted Raimi say, oh yeah, we found this in our family fruit cellar. I'm like, oh, of course you did. It's perfect. There's Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, Ash vs. Evil Dead, there's the Fede Alvarez remake, and then there's this episode of Creepshow. It's now part of the family. Phenomenal job by Rob Schraub, the writer, and Greg Nicotero, the director of this episode. I also want to shout out, I didn't mention this, but in the first episode, Model Kid, he, like I said, the kid makes all these horror models. So many of the monsters were the monsters that were used in season 1 of Creepshow, which, believe it or not, is up on Shudder right now. So you can go and watch season 1 of Creepshow before you start season 2 and these first 2 episodes. Like I said, the best part of this series is that it just goes by so fast. They're so fun and they don't overstay their welcome. It feels like if you grew up with Tales from the Crypt on TV, if you grew up watching, so many of these little horror shows, it makes you, it gives you a throwback to that, and that's what I love. And it's exactly like the Creepshow comic and the original Creepshow movie, where in the first Creepshow movie is 2 hours, it's 5 stories plus all the comic stuff. So if you do the math, each one of them breaks down to 20 minutes or so. And Greg Nicotero stays faithful to that, to the comic book lore. The creeper is great. The music is great. The animation is great. Of course, the effects are good because it's Greg Nicotero. So yeah, great start to season 2. Public Television of the Dead is going to be up here for probably the rest of the season. I can't imagine anything being better, but I also can't wait for the rest of this season. There are so many actors and actresses in the horror world that have tweeted and I see on IMDb are a part of this. Ashley Lawrence from Hellraiser, Keith David, of course, from The Thing and They Live, Axel Caroline, who directed our favorite episode of Mike Flanagan's The Haunting of Bly Manor. She has an episode that she directed for this series. Barbara Crampton is in an episode coming up. So there's so much. Every Thursday, wake up early before you go to work and try to catch the first episode of Creepshow. I watched this morning at around 8 o'clock. I'm on spring break though, so I had time. Otherwise, it's a great way to wind down after work on a Thursday afternoon. So I'll be back next week with my review of the next 2 episodes of Creepshow. And Pete and I will be here all month long, all April long, talking about all the great stuff that Shudder has. Last Drive-In with Joe, Bob, and Darcy. The Fangoria Chainsaw Awards. We're going to be doing 30-second to 1-minute quick reactions of so many of these exclusive movies that are coming out. And stay tuned. We also have some leftover goodies from our Lovecraft month in March. We have a book review coming to our channel, The Hungry Moon by Ramsey Campbell. That's going to be up on the channel in a day or so. We also have our final Lovecraft Country, HBO Max, episodes 9 and 10. I'll be reviewing those. Those will be up on the channel very soon as well. So, Danny from the Lacercast, tell us in the comments, what are you looking forward to the most this April on Shudder? And whatever you tell us, we'll cover and we'll shout you out in a video. So let us know, and we'll talk soon. Danny from the Lacercast, well, have a good one.